partnership that we have entered into with Khmer Times is one of several. But in terms of news media, there are only one of two that we have entered into a collaboration agreement with, whereby we agree to mutually boost each other's traffic, readership, to promote one another's platform. Yeah. But we also would tap onto Khmer Times coverage of news on businesses, investment, to put in the news feeds that are relevant to the business and investment community. So our approach is that we try to make information that are useful to the foreign businesses and investors that are interested in the Cambodian market, to allow them a more comprehensive overview of the actual market conditions here. Because for the longest time, and I think it will continue for in the foreseeable future, right? We need to continue to step up efforts to help bridge that outdated perception or perspective that the foreign community has with regards to Cambodia, especially the market potential and the opportunities that Cambodia offers. Network of contact and strategic partners that we are working with are diverse enough to cover all those different industries and sectors. Where we don't have the in-house expertise to work on a particular project, we will be able to either refer them or we will collaborate with other service providers, industry experts, to be able to provide the best value services possible. Because at the end of the day, right, the main obstacle that foreign investors and businesses face when they consider an emerging market such as Cambodia is they need to find a trusted conduit to work with. Yeah. So oftentimes they may already know of a service provider or an industry expert that they may want to deal with. But when it comes down to the final moment before they make the final crucial decision of signing on a contract or transacting in the partnership, there will still be certain doubts that go through their mind. Some have even approached us, for example, to engage us in terms of identifying or making an assessment on the local prospective partners that they intend to work with. Yeah. So that reveals that trust deficit that the external community still has. But of course, we can say that that's quite common, you know, when foreign investors deal with an emerging market. But Cambodia, I think, has also suffered from negative perception, negative publicity, right? Whatever the agenda out there is. So during my term as the ambassadorship, I've always tried to help bilateral relations by trying to bridge that misperception. So now in my new role in the private sector, I believe I can do a lot more because now I can tap into the business network. It is non-political, it's viewed as more neutral, but at the same time there's a driving force because all countries need their economy not only to be open, especially in the midst of the pandemic challenges, but they will want their economy to thrive so that there will be greater employment, the people's livelihood can be elevated. So I think there's a new role that I can play now, and it's something which I find very exciting. Understanding how to navigate the local landscape. Yeah. Cambodia has always been very pro-business, right? It's a very open economy. Yet, over the past 5.5 years that I've been in Cambodia, I've never failed to be amazed and amused at how foreign investors and businesses, no matter which country they come from, no matter how developed, no matter how sophisticated their own systems are, they always have a lack of understanding about what Cambodia is really like, how pro-business it is, how pro-investment its policies can be, right? So all these doubts, all this mistrust somehow become their own obstacles. Some say these are the demons that they have to slay themselves. But when you're in a foreign country, how else do you do so? Unless you can engage, transact, and interact with trusted persons, trusted organizations, trusted entities that you can deal with. So I've been fortunate in that with my previous background, my track record, and my reputation, which I hope is still on the positive side. There are many businesses from Singapore and through Singapore which have gotten in touch with us, mainly because they need someone they can trust, an organization they believe would espouse the values of integrity, transparency, and accountability to be able to deal with or deal through. Yeah. So that's where we come in. So we have the online business platform, which is free access. There's no membership, no subscription fee whatsoever. Information on the on that platform are freely available, so that foreign investors and businesses can navigate and better understand the local environment here. At the same time, we also have our advisory service as a complement. So those who wish to work with us, they can always have a choice of doing so. But if they wish to transact directly with service providers or other businesses that they can find on our platform through the business directory search and so on, they should have no qualms in doing so, because there's no fee or no charges if they wish to transact directly with those businesses. That's how open our platform and our business approach is. Yes, it's basically about connecting businesses, creating opportunities, and growing the partnerships in a very open, transparent manner. Well, our company was officially registered in November. If you check the background, right, my partnership is with a Singapore public listed company. Our parent company is back in Singapore. Because of corporate compliance with the stock exchange, in August 2021, my partner rang me up and said that because of corporate compliance, right, they have to announce their partnership with me. They held it back for as long as they could because, as I mentioned, I wanted to keep a low profile and visibility for as long as I possibly could. But when they did a low-key announcement in August, no publicity whatsoever, there were already calls and inquiries that came in. One was from the Singapore Business Federation, for example. That's the apex business chamber back in Singapore. And they were looking for someone they could trust, a trusted conduit that they could find out more about Cambodia, market insights, maybe even assessing local prospective partners, what are the investment opportunities and so on. So since then, there have been more international clients that have reached out to us from Australia, from the US, from Indonesia, of course from Singapore as well. So while we have not, although we only set up in November, activities already started way back in August, as far back as August. But we are taking our time to filter through which are the accounts that we want to work on, which are the businesses that we hope to be able to collaborate with other preferred partners or strategic partners, as well as which are the ones that we would refer to other industry experts that may be better suited to address the projects that they have on hand. Well, pre-COVID, if you look at Cambodia's annual growth, it's always been nothing short of amazing, right? Anything above between 7 to 8% growth annually. Because of the COVID pandemic, there was a slight disruption in that momentum. But with COVID pandemic becoming sort of a new normal, generally more accepted now by most other countries, travel restrictions being eased, I think the only main obstacle that most countries and Cambodia would face, and in particular Cambodia because it's a very open economy and export-oriented, the main challenge would be the disruption in logistics and supply chain, right? But barring that, if you put that aside, then the future potential of the Cambodian market continues to look very bright. There are a lot of good things going for Cambodia. The young population, the demographic is one, right? I think at last check, probably now about 75% of the population under age of 35. Before COVID, it was probably 30% now. I think it's, before COVID, it was about just over 70%. I think now it's hitting about 75%, where the population is still very young. It has a very dynamic and younger generation of leadership, which are not only in positions of power right now, but I think in the future months, in the years to come, I think we'll see more of this younger leadership taking the helm of certain ministries and agencies. And many of them they do have the right policy orientation in mind, because a lot of them have been educated overseas. They have the benefit of learning from their counterparts in many of these countries, whether from Europe, Japan, Singapore, Southeast Asia, and even from the US, China as well. The potential for Cambodia continues to be there because it is still developing. Infrastructure is still at the nascent stage, right? But because of its development partners like China, Japan, and from Europe, the infrastructure is maturing. But there's still a lot of room for development. If you look at the provinces, which are the commerce centers right now? It's still centered largely in Sihanouk View, Phnom Penh, Battambang. Siem Reap is more touristic, but it suffered from the pandemic because of the air travel restrictions and such. But there are many other places in Cambodia that has yet to be fully developed in terms of its potential, right? So when you look at the land mass, the geography, the demography, and the amount of interest that foreign investors have in this region, then the future looks very bright. There are many investors and businesses who have been sharing with me over the last few months, right, that when they look at the region in terms of political stability and peace, there's a very belated revelation that they now look at Cambodia as like, oh, it has been really stable for the last 2 decades. And they now believe, with greater confidence, it will continue to be so. So they've been telling me that they are focusing on 2 emerging markets in the region right now, Indonesia and Cambodia. If you look around and you survey, you will understand why. I don't need to go into details about it, but Cambodia's future is really bright. So the business engagements, partnerships that we are entering into, right, it's not strictly just on the commercial transaction part of it. Yeah. Over the next few weeks, you'll hear more announcements of our collaboration. We are timing the news releases. We are calibrating it according to the schedule of our business partners as well. But in the weeks or months to come, I hope you will start to also read about our collaboration in the education and skill training sector. There are some things which are developing, but it's a bit early for us to make those announcements. But we certainly have in mind, and there are ongoing discussions with those from the education and skills training sector as well.